Let's move on to the SAC's games this week because one of the reasons that we picked, and it turned out really well, that we picked Northrop Homestead as our game of the week last week instead of maybe Snyder Northside or instead of Lewis Carroll, was because we were like locked in thinking, all right, well we're going to have Snyder and Carroll as the game of the week in week two.
No.
Obviously, making plans like that is a fool's errand, and I don't know why I haven't learned after 12 years of doing it here in Fort Wayne. But so now we shift to Bishop Dwenger versus Northside, and this is a huge week 2 game. There's so many years in weeks past where we've had the excitement of week 1, and then week 2 is kind of that blah slate, and then you wait for everybody to get into conference play in week 3.
Right.
This is not the case. We've got like a legit, this could decide a conference or go a long way in deciding a conference early on, and it's Northside Bishop Dwenger, a game that we didn't know was going to be this important last week.
Right, and it would be great to if we were in a normal year, it would be packed out at Chambers Field on Friday. It would be packed over at Zollner, just a stone's throw away from Chambers. It'd be a great, half a mile across from each other, the 2 biggest games in the city. But you look at Northside and Bishop Dwenger. Bishop Dwenger very businesslike last week. Brendan Lytle, 3 touchdowns. I think he rushed for another one. It's a very businessman approach for Bishop Dwenger, taking care of Wayne. And now you enter a week 2, you're facing an upstart team in Northside that they're confident and they feel that they can hit the field and really compete with Bishop Dwenger because they blew Snyder off the field. They really used what was important, or stood out to me with Northside is they used Snyder's defensive line aggressiveness against them. They really didn't try to block as much as they just redirected guys around Deuce, who then would step up in the pocket and either make a throw or take off. It was a great game plan to really neutralize Snyder's defensive front. That it does return some experience. Can they do the same thing with Bishop Dwenger? Because they're strong at all 3 levels and very, very experienced. We saw basic things with Snyder, taking bad angles to make tackles, missed assignments, confusion. You're not going to have that against Bishop Dwenger. Can Northside continue to execute offensively against a defense that's going to be a lot more sound than Snyder was?
And one of the things that impressed me, I was at the beginning of the Dwenger-Wayne game, is Rocco Sioka. He's kind of the Rowan Zolman, if you will,
right?
of the SAC. He's a longer, kind of lengthy receiver, makes plays. We saw him with the big touchdown catch. He had 6 catches, a $127, I think, and a couple of touchdowns. He gives Brendan Lytle a big target, whereas, last year Michael Lito was a speed guy on the outside, but on the smaller side. Sioka's a big dude, and he was making plays, and when they have a big receiver that they can kind of throw it up to, it makes the offense just a little more tougher to prepare for.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they have weapons all over the field, slot, outside, the backfield with the the Tippmann trio and probably 8 more Tippmanns just waiting in the wings. But
they've got a whole JV team of Tippmanns.
They do. And if their last name isn't Tippmann, you will be told they are a Tippmann, right?
Different a Burns or a Tippmann.
They are a Tippmann. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge for Northside, I think, to forget about last week, but also use that confidence going into Friday. You're going to face a much more refined football team than you did last week. But Northside has the horses on both sides of the football to make it happen. I think the key, too, will be defensively. If they can match up with the Siokas and those guys in the slot and on the outside, can they contain the Tippmanns inside? Can they not allow them to get to the outside and turn the corner? I feel like the more higher scoring game this is, the better it is for Northside. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
When you take a look at Snyder at Carroll, I mean, it's kind of getting second billing this week, but that could easily be, even with the Snyder loss in week 1, a game of the week because Snyder can ill afford to go down 0-2 in the SAC. Meanwhile, Carroll's like, hey, man, all we did was go to Lures, blow him out. Yeah. Mason Englert is still running into the end zone.
And nobody's paying attention
And nobody is paying attention to us. They did what we thought they could do in week 1. Jeffrey Becker looks like he's elevating his game. He, along with Deuce, I mean, those are like the top 2 quarterbacks you would say in the area right now. And you need a win. And these 2 teams, I think the rivalry's friendly.
A little friendly.
But it's chippy. It's going to be chippy.
Snyder feels like they owe Carroll something. right? But we coaches talk about it with football teams at every level. Is the biggest difference between a football team is between week 1 and week 2, because you finally have a game that you can really analyze film and look at what guy really knows what he's doing and the other guy has just been faking it through practice and this and that. And that's what the Snyder coaching staff is doing this week. And I'm sure they've already done it over the weekend, is breaking down every single play and saying, this kid has it, this kid is not, this kid. I think you're going to see an influx of newer kids in the lineup in the 2 deep for Snyder. I think they go more young and talented than they did last week. And I think you're going to see an improved Snyder team. But after what we saw last Friday, they need a vast improvement in 7 days to be ready to compete with Carroll.
I don't doubt that Kurt Tittman will right the ship.
Yes.
It's a matter of how long it's going to take, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Homestead at Concordia, this is a big game for both teams, but really for Homestead again, like Snyder, you don't want to go down 0-2, especially as the defending SAC champ. Concordia has the firepower, and I think their defense is better than people are giving them credit for, because when you think Concordia in years past, you think they're going to try to outscore you and sling the ball all over the football field. They can play some D as well. This is going to be a good one at Zollner on that turf.
On the new turf. Excited about. We'd love to have some fans there, but we're going to have to wait a couple weeks. Look, Northrop, Demarius Cohen, they ran all over Homestead's defense last week. Now, if Homestead has their linebacker core back, that's good. We'll see if they do or not. But we looked at what Amir Drew did last week against Southside, and you're saying you have to contain Amir Drew and you have to contain Brandon Davis as well.
So, 170 yards last week on the ground
so
for Drew.
It's simple for me. When you look at on the turf at Zollner on Friday night, can Homestead contain Concordia's rushing game? Because if they can run the ball, it opens up all the different opportunities in the offense. And I think Concordia also wants to say, hey, don't forget about us in the SAC race. They've never won an SAC championship. Even when they won the championship in 2016, the state title, they lost twice in the SAC. So, Tim Manigal knows, realistically, we're probably not going to be in the SAC race most years, but with that defense, maybe they can be in the conversation for the first half of the year.
And I think Lures at Wayne is a sneaky important game for both of those teams, for sure. With Haydock, who I actually thought I know they gave up 35 against Bishop Dwenger, but the defense when I was there looked energized. They looked excited to be out there. Maybe that's just game one, but Sherwood Haydock's coaching history speaks for itself. He will get that team playing well. And then for Lures, you don't want to start 0-2 if you're Bishop Lures, because they do have some aspirations. They got a quarterback, they've got some playmakers. They think they're better than they showed in week 1, I'm guessing, if you're Kyle Lindsay and company. So this is an important game for both of those teams, because it could really stifle some momentum in the early get-go of this season, especially when you have the Snyders, the Dwengers, the Northsides for some of those teams to play.
Yeah, 1-1 after 2 weeks looks a heck of a lot better than 0-2, and both of those teams are looking for a 1-1 instead of 0-2. So both teams, I think, are going into this matchup after seeing last week and saying, hey, this is a winnable football game for us. So I really believe this is kind of a toss-up game. I feel like Lures has the edge, but I think Wayne has a lot of talent. It's young talent, but it is talented. Sean Collins is really good. Even Pearson is very good. And those guys are just juniors. So I think there's a lot of talent on Wayne's football team. It just may take a while for Coach Haydock to refine it and getting all going in the right direction. But like you, I was impressed with what they were able to put out on the field last week. I expected a more lopsided game.
Final question for me. What are you most looking forward to about week 2? Because we got the first impression. But this lasting impression is more what you see in week 2.
Clarity. We're going to get more clarity on Friday. We were starved for any type of football, that any amount of football that we can psychoanalyze, we did last Friday and Saturday, right? Northside pummels Snyder. Snyder's horrible. Northside's winning the SAC. Homestead's terrible. Northrop's great. All this stuff. Now we can get a bigger sample size, and especially when you look at a team like Northside and Bishop Dwenger and Homestead this week in the SAC, we're going to see, okay, was 1 week a fluke? Are they good but not great? Are they great? I think we'll come out Friday night watching the highlight zone on Friday and really experiencing and understanding these teams a little bit better.
Your check is in the mail for the promotional zone action right there. Yeah, we will have you covered on Friday in the highlight zone, and hopefully we'll have another interesting week.
Let's hope.
Was fun. It was fun.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll be here as long as they'll possibly let us. And they keep letting us on the sidelines, which is amazing.
For some reason.
I'm pretty happy about that. So we'll keep it covered Monday on Inside the Zone, and, of course, Fridays on the Highlight Zone. He's Justin. I'm Glenn. We'll see you back here next week.